Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the Bold Badass Business Show. And today I am so excited, and thank you all for having patience because my daughter is graduating tonight from high school a year early. And there's a lot going on in my house, but we're running a little bit late, but so excited because of that, but especially excited because in the house we have Rob Z. Now, I was introduced to Rob Z by a wonderful client of mine, immediately enjoyed his energy, his take on life. And you all should know that he is the creator of the Unstuck movement. He has an incredible podcast also called the Unstuck Movement Podcast. Is that right, Rob?
That is correct.
That is correct. Just want to make sure. And I've had the joy of being on there. Rob is a dad, a devoted father and husband, and he's an amazing executive leadership coach and breakthrough expert. So hang on to your seats, everybody. Put your seatbelt on, get ready to roll, because we're going to talk about how do you get unstuck and get moving forward, because guess what? Somebody needs you now. Right, Rob?
Absolutely. Yeah. People need you to be the best version of you right now.
That's
right?
the truth. Yes. And, we forget that, don't we? Sometimes we kind of get into our heads or and not in our hearts. And we can forget that our real purpose here is to serve. We're here to serve.
Mm-hmm.
And in serving other people, we get filled up. We get filled up by that. It's not about depletion. It's about getting filled up.
Yeah.
So let's just jump right in. Today, you have 6 vital keys that we're going to talk about that will help people get unstuck and start moving again. And so why don't you just give us the first one, and welcome to the show, of course.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And you know what you were just saying a second ago, I was having a conversation with a guy a couple of weeks ago, and what he said was so good because it's so true. And it's about getting unstuck, not being in your head and serving. Right. So it was like a Thanksgiving thing, and he was really down on himself. He was overcoming this drug addiction, and he was just going to stay at home on Thanksgiving, which was his favorite holiday. And he was going to stay at home and just be miserable sitting in his house by himself, self-loathing in all of his own garbage. Right. But this guy has gifts, spiritual gifts, and one of those is like just the power of encouraging people, and he has this amazing way of encouraging others. And he was invited down to a church to just hang out and like talk to the people who came in, and like help people find their seats or whatever. And he wasn't going to do it. He was going to sit at home, and he admitted later on that while he was sitting at home, he was going to commit suicide, maybe that night or very soon. And instead of sitting at home on his favorite holiday, he decided to go down to the church and help serve people. And through that process, ended up having some great conversations, met some amazing people, and had this realization of like, if I want to get out of this place that I'm in right now, if I want to get unstuck, I need to serve, because when I serve other people, it brings out my gifts. And when it brings out my gifts, it helps them and they're happy, which makes me happy, which is just it's a continuous thing, which is why we can't be lone wolves and just live with ourselves and also just think that me sitting at home is going to heal me. Like, I mean, sometimes that's the right thing to do, right? But most of the time it is to get out and be of service, because when you're helping people, you're going to find out things about yourself that you didn't know. And that's really going to be beneficial for you. And we live in such a countercultural society where it's like self-love. We need to fix ourselves, but in order to fix, which isn't wrong, we do need to fix ourselves. We got to find a way to heal ourselves, right?
Yes.
But we do that by being of service. We have to be interacting and engaging with other people.
We do it by, actually, I have this saying that I take from transformational leadership: when in doubt, focus out. And it's so powerful what you just shared, Rob, because he was in this place of self-loathing. And I know those of you listening, I know you've been there. I mean, I would imagine any human being has been. I certainly have been in a place of self-loathing at points in my life where I was just down on myself, or I was feeling like I hadn't done things the way I should have. We can be so hard on ourselves, way harder than on anybody else, right? We're so much nicer to other people.
Here's the crazy thing too, right? Because the truth is the answers are not outside of us. We have all of the answers. So it's like paradoxical, right? We have all of the answers inside of us, but in order for us to bring those answers out, we have to be around other people. Now, this is not 100% true all the time, right? You will and do find out things about yourself by being by yourself, but
Mm-hmm.
there's certain things about yourself that you are never going to like unearth unless you're around others. And in those situations, that forces you to bring these things out of you, right? That's how that's the impact of, if we want to talk about it in Christianity, the church is the body. It's everybody. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like a physical church. It's people
It's the
who
body
who
of
believe
Christ,
in
right?
Christ coming together. He's the head, we're the body, right? And so
Yep.
I love that concept because it just makes so much sense, because we all have a unique thing, and that unique thing gets brought out when we have a body of people to like elicit it being brought out.
Right. And an opportunity. And what's so powerful about the example you gave is that he was in this place of self loathing, but then he realized, oh, I have something to give. I have encouragement to give. I have a kind word to give. I just have listening ear to give. And that lifted him. And it absolutely lifted the people there. Makes me think about, when I was going through divorce, Rob, I remember it, and it was a Thanksgiving. I believe it was a Thanksgiving. It was either Thanksgiving or Christmas, and I decided with my daughter we're going to go to the rescue mission, and we're gonna participate. We're gonna help, and we're gonna do the games. We got to do the games with the kids. There were all these games, and we did that because otherwise it would have just been a lonely, kind of sad Christmas, and I did not want that to be. And so, you know everyone listening, I think this is a powerful lesson also in business too. And I want to hear what you think, Rob. But I've noticed that when things get slow, when I start to feel stuck in my business,
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest answers is to give more.
Mm-hmm.
Give more. And it can be in the form of, say, a barter, like give somebody through bartering with someone. It can be giving a portion of your proceeds to charity. I tithe and I can give even more to my spiritual community. It can be, but just to give, do more podcasts, give more complimentary enrollment or complimentary sessions,
Yeah.
and if you do that, when you do that, then it begins to circulate that energy and things begin to move again. The phone begins to ring again, or you begin to get texts and emails again. What do you
Mm-hmm.
think?
And you start to feel good again, right? When you're
Right.
giving, you start to just feel better. And so I think that's what happens too, right? Yeah, sometimes you'll get like a call out of nowhere, or things will just fall in your lap and you're like, holy cow. But I
Yeah.
also, at the same time, you're just feeling better. So you're going to act better when you meet people, and that's going to
Right.
cause better things to happen. I always love to think about, like, when's the only time you can't think about, like, if you're like just self-loathing, you're
Mhm.
unable to think about yourself when you're helping other people. It's like no longer can I wallow in my own stuff because I'm serving somebody else right now, and that gets my mind off of me, and that's that state change that we all need.
Mhm.
And
We
for
do.
business, it's the same thing. It's the same, works the same exact way. You're correct.
I love that. So our first vital key is
Oh,
to
vision is, so the vitals, vitals. V is for
mm,
vision, right? And when it comes to life in general, not many people ever think about their vision. I know I certainly never thought about what my vision for the
mm,
future was until I was into my 30s. And I didn't even really fully understand as much as I understand now how to find my vision, I didn't really fully understand it until like my mid 30s, right? So these are things that most people never talk about. Like these things don't ever get brought up, and we don't ever have exercises for how do we find our vision. And that's number one on the list for me, because without a vision, the people perish. We need to have
mm.
a vision for our life.
And his vision, the first story, his vision was bigger than him because he realized, oh, let me go out, let me give. He had a bigger vision than just the end of his own nose. And
Mm-hmm.
this is something that, I always say to people we've got to have a big vision. It doesn't have to be that it doesn't have to be big financially necessarily, but we want to have a vision that's beyond our family, beyond us, and to the human family,
Yeah. Yeah, for
reaching the
sure.
human family.
And with vision too, like the whole concept of goals. This is how I've always looked at goals, which The
Mhm.
vision is like the major, big, overarching concept, but the goals are the practical parts, and those also can be out 5 or 10 years, right? I don't ever look at a goal as like, man, I've got to. I don't ever beat myself up if I don't reach a goal. I don't beat myself
Mhm.
up because I always get way further than I would have any other way. If I
Mm.
wouldn't have made the goal, I would not have gotten as far as I got, even if I didn't reach the goal. And
Mm.
eventually, I will reach that goal, right?
Mm.
But if it didn't happen in the time span, it's, man, if I never would have done that, I never would have gotten that far. And so many people, that's another place. It comes from a place of, this is where it came from for me when I was younger.
Mhm.
I never set goals or a vision because if I did that, then that would highlight I was a failure if I didn't make it, right? So I
Mm.
don't do anything at all, and then I can't fail, right?
Mm.
It's a stupid concept, but that's the way you think of it. And so figuring out that vision, whether it's business or life, is the cornerstone. And you don't have to have it exactly right. It doesn't need to be right because it's just what you're picturing for the future, what's going to come. It will change over time. It'll
Mm.
usually end up way better than you ever imagined it could, but you have to set that vision. The second part of that, is the impact.
Mm.
Anybody who's ever created impact has had a very strong vision. So I want you to think, Barnsley, when you think of a leader, who comes to mind? Give me a name of somebody who comes to mind.
Well, obviously, Martin Luther King Jr., huge leader. Um, Gosh, yes. I mean, just because of what he stood for. But
Yeah,
we could take anybody in the civil rights movement. We could take anyone who was involved, including the freedom riders, any of the freedom riders or leaders. They're getting around and risking their lives for all
yeah.
people to have the right to vote, for equality.
Right. So when you thought of the word leader, somebody's name popped into your head and their face popped into your head. That's impact, right?
Mhm.
Impact is when somebody says a word and you pop up. That's impact. And that could be, for me, there's people that I know in my personal life that nobody else, they're not famous or anything like that, but they pop in my head
Right.
for words. And you don't want you can be known as an impactful person for negative things. Like, oh man, this person never stops talking. Somebody's name pops in your head. They've made impact on your life because they never shut up, right?
Or they always
So
say they're Debbie Downer,
a Debbie Downer, right? Yeah, people pop
it's
up.
always
So
negative.
that impact is so important. So you've got to have the right vision to make the right impact.
Mm.
It's essential. And then the T is for technology. This is so important because there's no way right now, or I don't know, for the past 100 years or how long, there was
Mm.
no way for you to do what you really wanted to do with that vision without using technology correctly. And especially right now in the culture that we live in,
Yep.
most of the times technology uses us, we don't use it. Right. And we now have, in the past at television, we didn't have the ability to use technology. It
Mhm.
just used us. It was entertainment. But now we fully have the power to use technology to get our vision out there and to make the impact we want to make. So are you going to let technology use you, or are you going to use it? Because a lot of
Yeah.
people, especially like in the Christian community, a lot of people are very much against social media. And you hear this just in general. People are against social media because it makes them depressed or it's too addicting for them, right? It's using them so much they can't use it anymore. But it's there as a tool for us to get our message out. It's a tool, but it's how we use the tool. It's not an idol. It's not something that we bow down to, right? But a lot of people bow down to social media. How many followers am I get? How many likes did I get on this thing? How many comments did I get? Whatever. And there's so much comparison going on. But if we learn to use it to our advantage to spread our message, our vision, that creates the impact that we're looking for, right? So we have to get technology right. And then from that, the
Well, let's
A,
pause on that. Let's
oh,
pause
yeah,
on that
please.
because I think you're making a lot of amazing points there. You know, think about it, all right? It's not really guns that are bad, right? It's people who use guns to hurt other people, right?
Yeah.
Now, a gun could be used to find food, right? To find food for your family. There's some uses of the gun that could be good. The gun itself is not bad. It's the person wielding it that could be bad, and their intentions could be positive or could be negative, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing with technology. And this is why, I think we need to really listen to that. Sure, we want to watch what our kids are, be careful about what our kids are doing with technology. But technology enables us to have, as you say, with your eye, the V in the eye, vision and impact, it enables us to have that huge impact that's global, where we're not just reaching the people who are right here around us that we see every day, or even in our own state. We can be so far beyond that. And it really is about what are our intentions in using it. So I just wanted to say that. And the same thing with AI. AI is not going to take over the world. I don't believe that. But we must make sure that our intentions in using it are positive, right? Are they
True.
hurtful to people, or are they helpful to people? Basically, to put it in a basic way, is it hurtful or helpful?
Yeah, and AI, it might take over the world. I don't know. I
Well,
don't
it
know
might.
enough about it, but I've watched The Terminator too many times when I was younger to
Yep.
get that thought out of my
Good
head. But
movie.
but anyways, um,
Well, you know
yeah,
what, Rob? I just saw this was so much fun. Like, AI for entertainment can be okay. Now, when it's taking away actors' voices and their jobs, no. But I just saw the Met Gala AI outfits. And it was so cool to watch these outfits, like the AI creation of each actress or actor with their
oh
outfit
yeah,
was super cool. So there was while there was the real in-person Met Gala, there was also this AI Met Gala with each actor and actress that was super cool. And in fact, some of the
yeah.
people who couldn't come because they were sick, they did the AI version. How wild is that?
That is wild, because think about, like, if somebody were to, like, a digital artist created what they think the people with the Met Gala are going to look like, nobody would care that much. It's not that interesting. But when AI creates it, it's interesting because it's not a person, and that's the really weird world we're stepping into. This is not a human, yet we are really interested in it and engaging with it. It's a wild time. Um,
Well,
it-
some of the things look so real too,
yeah,
and the outfits were really phenomenal that were designed. The designs were phenomenal that were AI generated. Like doing this in the real world with real fabric and real, stitching, etc., would have been very challenging. But
right.
it was just really interesting. Look it up, you all. It was pretty wild. I said, "Wow, look at that!" And
I
the
can
fact that
imagine.
yeah. The fact that people who couldn't be at the actual Met Gala were in the AI one is really interesting. But again, we want to make sure that we know, we know who's controlling it, so to speak. But the media has always been controlled, for instance, by
Hmm.
huge, huge companies. So
Yeah.
we could talk about that as much as we want. The media has been controlled by people with a lot of money for the most part. And so
But
actually, I
we've
really
never had
like
the freedom.
social media
We've
because,
we've
yeah,
never had the freedom we have now. I mean, as far as
exactly.
the media, there are big companies that own everything, but man,
Yep.
the fact that we can do this right now is
It's a
unbelievable.
crazy thing. Like, we can actually be there and see what's going on in a country that otherwise we might never see because of political affiliations. We might never see that in the mainstream media.
Yeah.
And we can see eyewitness accounts of all sorts of things, some of them horrific, but I think it can make us as a civilization really question and say, really, what are we doing? Think about the whole thing with George Floyd, for instance, people videotaping that
Hmm.
whole incident, where he was basically smothered. And it created an entire uprising because Black Lives Matter had been around forever, but
Mm.
it created the fact that people were there and watching and videotaping created this whole movement around that. And it's like suddenly people began to wake up. So
Hmm.
I believe, like you say, we've got freedom through these modalities. Basically, we've got freedom, and everything is not centralized anymore through media that would decide, here's what we're going to show you and here's what we're not going to show you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
it can,
much more loose, which then leads to the A, which is
yeah,
actions, right? The
right.
technology leads to actions. And when it comes to social media, most of the things that get most of the views are not always the best actions of humans, right? We enjoy watching the folly of human, and it is fun to see people act like complete idiots, or also tragic. But either way, it's very compelling.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are our actions in our life? If we are taking the correct actions and we are doing the right things, then we are going to be able to manage technology better. We're also going to be able to manage our lives better. So the action comes down to our activities, comes down to our habits. And these things are things that we do every single day, all day long. And a lot of them, we don't even realize we're doing them. Just like our thoughts, right? We have like 80,000 thoughts a day. 90% or more of those are the same thoughts every single day. They repeat over and over again. So you have to consciously put new thoughts in because we just run on the program that we have. And we can change that program, but we have to be very conscious of that. So we have to make sure we're taking the right action in our life, and just doing a briefing of your day. What did I do today? How did I act today? How did I treat people today? How did
Mm-hmm.
I treat myself today? What did I eat today? Did I work out today? When did I wake up? When did I go to sleep? Those things that are almost and also like the micro interactions that we have with people. Like, these actions are so important. What's our morning routine like? Are we volunteering in some sort of way? Are we focusing all of our time just on our business and not helping other people in our family or our relationships, right? So our actions are just, they're so integral, and it's such an easy thing to say, actions, but literally right now is an action. This is an action we're doing right now. This is something that moves both of us forward.
Mm-hmm.
And we could be doing anything else right now. I could be playing Fortnite right now, like my son is, right? Because he's playing Fortnite. So it'd be like, that could be something I could choose to do instead of doing this. So what are our actions every day? That's such an important piece of the puzzle, because that's going to lead to what the content is that we put on social media and what we also consume on social media. If we're doing the right things and our actions are right, our integrity is going to be higher. So we're not going to be compelled to watch things on social media that drag us down. But if our actions aren't
Right.
right and our integrity isn't right, then we're not going to watch those things anymore. We're going to mindfully choose things that are going to help us grow instead of hold us back.
So it's about our is what you're watching, is what you're consuming, and is what you're creating as a digital creator, is that in your business, is that in alignment with your vision and your impact? The first
Yeah,
two keys, and if it's
exactly.
not in alignment, it's time to change it.
For sure. And they all bleed into each other. And it's really interesting. Like, we think with our social media feeds, you have full control of that thing if you want full control of it. Maybe
Yeah.
TikTok, not so much. It seems to be pretty random. But like other feeds, I go in, if there's something there I don't like anymore, then I block that channel or I say I don't want to see this anymore. And then I'll start seeing more of the stuff that I like. So we can make social media look like how our lives are. And that's something that I think is really important. So going from the actions, leadership comes next. That's the L in the vital system. The L, the leadership. Number one, if we're going to be leaders, we have to be leaders of our own lives first. I can't lead anybody unless I'm leading me correctly. And that's why we see so many poor leaders, and that's why the word leadership has such a bad connotation in our culture, because we don't have many good leaders, because the managers and bosses, or even for people, parents or parental figures in their lives, we see they're not doing what we feel like they should be doing, and they also know that. If you're not doing what you should be doing as a leader. uh, so we mimic this incorrect model and pattern, and to change that, we have to go back to us, to
Mm.
being a leader for ourselves. How do we do that? How do you become the leader of your own life? That goes a lot to the actions. If I'm going to be the leader of my own life, then every action I should take account for. Every thought, if it's possible, take account for. Oh, that's very hard to do, because you have to put those in alignment with the kind of leader you want to be. And man, I want to ask you this: when it comes to leadership,
Mhm.
how do you know that you're being a good leader?
Well, one of my measures is that everybody's taking ownership. I feel like I'm a really good leader when I am catalyzing the leadership in others and they're taking
Mm.
ownership. If it's a project or if it's my coaching program, they're taking the initiative. It's not always me saying, hey, what are you all creating today? Or me putting my revenue generating activities first. They're taking the initiative. They're going first. And it's something that I really try to instill in every group that I work with, Rob, is I really want everyone to speak up at some point. Everyone speaks up either in the chat or in the seminar or workshop, or if it's a huge group, they speak to each other. But I want every single person engaged. So I think great leaders foster collaboration and empowerment of other leaders.
I would agree. Yeah. Finding the best in others, finding their strengths and bringing those strengths out and encouraging other people to shine, right? To collaborate
Yeah.
together.
So, you get, the older you get, it's like, who cares if we shine? Really, it's about shining on other people. And that for me has been the Bold Badass business. It's what it's about, is shining a light on great people doing great work in the world. And doing that is it just fills me up. And I know in your podcast, you get people on who have had these incredible breakthroughs in their lives, and they share their stories, which inspires people. What better thing for us to be doing than sharing from our experiences, sharing what we've learned, our wisdom, sharing our expertise, so that it can impact people for years to come. I mean, there's nothing better, is there?
I always go back to, make your mess your message. If you have a mess in your
Yep.
life and you got through the mess, then you need to tell the story
Yes.
of the mess. Because that, number one, you telling the story helps you heal from it, because now you've turned it from something that I was a victim of to now it's a story of my victory, right? And so
Right.
that story is something you can share with people, and that will help them be like, oh wow, I was in that situation. Oh wow, they're way worse off than I was. Or everybody's going to resonate with that story in some sort of way, and the right people, it's going to like resonate so strongly with them that it's going to change their life and give them hope, and give them like not even hope, it's going to give them an example. Oh, that happened for them, why can't that happen for me? And also to remember that when you're going through the mess, because the mess could last. I just talked to a guy the other day, Devin Schubert, amazing guy. And he went through a 13-year period with a foster kid that was it was the most horrific, difficult situation that led him to a full mental and physical breakdown where he almost died, right? And that was a 13-year journey he went through. But he came out on the other side, this amazing guy who's just empowering people and changing lives, and just really, really cool to hear that story. But during that 13 years, you feel like it's never going to end. So you need the examples from people. It's going to get better. It's going to end. You just have to keep going.
You have to keep going.
And in my case, like trusting God, right? I got to trust that God is going to get me through this. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm going to get through it. It's a guarantee. So I like to hold on to that. That's so important.
All right. So I know the listeners want to know, and we've got to wrap in just a few minutes, but I know they're wondering, okay, what's a mess that you turned into your message? Just a short little mess that you want to share that really led you to what you're doing now, to having your podcast, to creating the Unstuck movement, to all the things you do as an executive leadership coach.
Sure. I wrote about this. I called it the bold art of being yourself. When I was growing up, I did not know how to be me, right? So I was like trapped inside of me. Like I was awkward and shy and weird, and just like I was just an odd kid. And throughout the years, that caused a lot of problems. It caused a lot of depression, a lot of addiction, a lot of like negative things came out of that. And I spent 20 years in radio broadcasting, right? So through those years, I didn't realize what was happening to me, but I was helping me come out of my shell and like find myself, right? Then I left radio back in 2017. I started a digital marketing company, which led me into coaching in 2021. And through this whole process, what I've realized is like it's been a process of me like revealing me to myself. Like, oh, I used to get so frustrated that like I couldn't say the things I wanted to say, or like I was acting in ways that were not congruent with who I knew I was. And so the older I get and the more I work on that mess and the more I talk about it, the more it becomes a message that I can like say, hey, here's who I used to be. Here's who I am now, light years away from one another. It's still me, because it was me back then. I was just trying to figure me out. And now I can go forward from here, but I can also help people with that. And that all comes down to communication. Like, so for life or business, the key to communication is saying what's true. And when you're incongruent, you're not saying or living what is true, or doing what is true, or what you know should be done. And so finding that congruency, which all comes down to your integrity, right? Building your integrity brings that out. That brings that out. And then that was my mess. I did not have integrity, and I did not know how to be me. And so I've turned that into a message to help people, but also teams, also businesses with that, because everything professional comes back to personal. And I just love to see that growth in people.
It's beautiful. What a great story, and realizing that where you were was not who you wanted to become, and making a decision to change, which is really important. It's not who we are right now, but who are we becoming? Where are we moving to? What's the next step? What's the next step after that? And the next step after that, which, by the way, is a really good way to get unstuck, is just to do it step by step. What's my next step? What's my next step? Because if we look at the whole big thing, it can feel very overwhelming, can't it?
It
It's
certainly
kind of like
can.
a graduate degree. When I started my graduate degree, if you look at the whole thing, it's like, OMG, why have I taken this on? But if you do just one step, like, okay, just this class, this semester, okay, this class I'm teaching. All right, let's get the paper in. And just bit by bit, every little chunks add up. There's a cumulative power, everybody listening. When you use those 6 vital keys, which are vision, impact, what is the T again?
Technology, action, leadership. But there's one more. There's S on the end, vitals. The S is for service.
I was noticing that had 5 letters, so I didn't want to say anything wrong. But so perfect, because we were talking about service at the beginning.
That's why I was hoping we'd get there.
That's so perfect.
Because that's the beginning of leadership, is learning how to be of service to people.
That's so perfect.
And the way how I know that, like, God gave me that, was like, that's too good. Like, the vitals of leadership, like, it's the vital elements you need to be a great leader, and to put your mission and your vision out to the world. But service is everything, because if you aren't of service to others, you can never be a leader. I can't lead myself sitting in my basement.
You're going to be a dictator if the only person you serve is yourself.
Yeah, right.
Really, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be a dictator. Nobody wants that. They want someone who is going to let them come along. If you have people following you, chances are you have some really good elements of your leadership. And if there's nobody following you, well, it's time to maybe ask yourself, do I have those vitals in place? Right?
That's
so
right.
You all, what a great discussion today. I hope that you've taken note. There's that academic in me. I always say, hi, I'm Barnsley, and I'm Dr. Barnsley, and I'm a recovering academic. Which is perfect, right? And you all, I hope you've taken notes on that, because the vitals, that's a really great thing to put up on your computer. I don't know about you all, but I have little Post-its all around my computer of stuff that keeps me targeted, keeps me focused. And think about that. Everything starts with vision, and with the vitals, it ends with service, and everything.
Or it begins with service and ends with vision.
Begins with service and ends.
However you want to look at it.
It's circular. And we began this session, our episode with the service. So you all, something very exciting is that, of course, we have the freebie vault. I'm so thrilled to offer you thousands and thousands of dollars of free gifts from all the amazing badass guests on the show. And Rob, I know you're going to give everybody something. Just give us a sentence about what it is, and then I'll tell people the URL where it will be, which is in our freebie vault. So just what would you like to give them as an incredible gift?
Very cool. One of the things that I love to right now, what I've been doing is helping people launch their platforms, right? So sending their message out and getting it out to the world, and helping them launch their platform in this form of podcast or however you'd like to do that. But I have a 33-page strategy guide that walks you through step by step how to do that. If you want to check that out, you can download it for free at robzwentz.com.
Oh, wait. Don't give them that. Don't give them that, because we're going to put it in the freebie vault. You send me that. It'll be in the
Oh,
vault with everybody's gifts. So when they go
oh,
in, they get to get not just yours, but they can choose all the ones they want. How cool is that?
amazing. I love it.
Like thousands of dollars of stuff. And they don't have to keep, listening and going to different, it's all at one URL. I love that. So 33 page, how to launch your platform.
Strategy guide. Yes.
How to launch your platform
It's called
strategy guide.
Podcast Like a Pro strategy guide.
Podcast like a pro. I love that, you all. How exciting. And that is going to be, you'll be able to find that in just a couple of days. I'll send it to my VA and they will get this up into the freebie vault. And here's the link you need. So write this down, everybody. It's bit.ly/free from Dr. B. I made it short and I made it rhyme, so you'd remember it. bit.ly/free from Dr. B. And all you need to do is put in your email and your name, and you will be taken to these thousands of dollars of gifts of over 65 incredible guests. And you can choose. And of course, Rob's will be right there, this podcasting guide. So make sure that you grab his and look around, and especially look at our exclusive sponsors, our VIP exclusive sponsors at the top. They are growing, and those are must-have gifts. Hey, Rob, maybe you're going to be an exclusive sponsor. We'll have to talk about that. So everybody, I'm so excited you joined us today. Rob, it's always really a joy to talk with you. You know, you and I are just on the same page about service and giving and self-management as leaders, that these elements must be there for us to be impactful and powerful in the best ways, right? Powerful at empowering others, not overpowering others. So I'm really thrilled you've been here. And everybody, remember that the Bold Badass Business Show is available to you at 4:30 p.m. Eastern every Friday. And when you go into the vault, you'll be able to access all the other episodes as well. So you can binge watch Bold Badass Business. How cool is that? Rob, thank you so much for being here. Everybody, go get your gifts, bit.ly/free from Dr. B, and I'll see you next week. And in the meantime, remember that even when you don't feel like it, you're a badass, or you wouldn't be joining us here.
See ya. Thanks for having me.
So glad you were here.